Well, I think they're becoming more similar, but the biggest difference between the European and the U.S. is the utilization of third parties. In the U.S., the Food and Drug Administration has a tradition of doing its own inspections, its own reviews, and even to the extent that if they don't have enough resources to do all the inspections or to do all of the reviews, they leave them undone. So I think that probably the utilization of notified bodies and other types of third-party processes in Europe is probably the biggest difference.
There are three areas for medical device regulation, and one of them is pre-market review. And next is post-market surveillance and QMS. And regarding pre-market review, there is a big difference. In EU, there is no pre-market review for low and middle risk class device. However, in Japan, pre-market review is applied for all medical device except lowest risk class device. And concept is of pre-market review is similar that of the United States. However, United States FDA has simplified pre-market review such as 510K. And another pre-market review is PMA, pre-market approval. And the Japan government apply PMA for all medical device. There is no simplified pre-market review. And so there is a big difference of pre-market review time duration between EU and Japan and United States and Japan. It's called device lag. It's a serious issue.
Well, in the device sector, the relationship between the U.S. and Europe, I think, has grown increasingly close. And there's some areas where the global harmonization task force efforts, which Europe and FDA, along with Japan, Canada, have come together, have really harmonized the standards. Post-marketing surveillance, some of the standards for certain specific types of products, device classification, principles of clinical trials. All of these things are becoming more similar, and that helps the industry because then industry doesn't have to repeat things or do things one way for the US and then just slightly differently for Europe and then again slightly differently for Japan. Well, I think it is important to look at the medical device sector as a global sector and ask, how do you build appropriate systems for smaller countries? There are some, quote, smaller countries like Korea that are actually sizable economies and that are coming along and catching up to Japan and Canada and some of Australia, some of those countries. But there will always be smaller countries that have smaller governments, smaller regulatory systems, smaller healthcare spending. And they need ways of leveraging the approval systems and the quality systems in the larger countries to make sure that the products that they purchase for their citizens meet high standards and are safe and are effective. And I think there's actually a way that that's happening through the Global Harmonization Task Force. Well, I think that there are some things which are getting close enough that they actually will converge and become the same. So I think the manufacturing standard, the ISO manufacturing standard used in Europe, has become very similar to the US quality systems requirements, and those may converge. I think there is a desire to streamline post-marketing surveillance and safety reporting and to have universal reporting and more comfort on the industry side with an international system there. There may be convergence of the inspection process, and it may be possible to develop a common technical dossier the way that has been done on the pharma side. So I think within 5, maybe 10 years, all of these things will converge. Some of them are closer now, others have more to go.